Alex Jones was interviewed for the third time by Joe Rogan, and as usual, it was a big event. 15 million people watched it on YouTube, maybe double that, heard it on the podcast. Perhaps 30 million people checked this interview out. The previous interview with Jones got 25 million views on YouTube, and it's the second most popular Joe Rogan Experience episode. Number one is, of course, his interview with a rutting elk. Not only are lots of people interested in these interviews, lots of people are persuaded. Many people were impressed with Rogan fact-checking Jones.
What I enjoyed the most about this episode was just how often he actually was 100% correct.
They thought Alex Jones performed well when pressed and was right an impressive amount of time. Tim Dillon, the other corporeal entity in this video, said this.
What differentiates that podcast from something where you let Alex rant and then the people go, well, fuck that, it's all wrong. Can't say that about this podcast because we have the receipts.
And this is the takeaway Rogan himself leaves us with at the end of the episode.
You were pulling shit off the top of your head, and a lot of it was accurate. A good, solid percentage.
I'm not trying to bullshit.
No, you're not trying to bullshit.
There was, of course, lots of pushback as well, including perhaps from some Spotify employees. Spotify is now the exclusive carrier of the Joe Rogan Experience. Rogan later doubled down in his support of Jones with this statement and a link to a Bill Gates interview that appeared to back up something Jones said about the COVID vaccine. So, Joe Rogan, who actually is decently skeptical, although he is Alex Jones' friend, so he's biased, he thought there was plenty of good information here, and lots of other people thought the same. However, this interview is actually a complete fucking shit show, total disaster, dumpster fire, whatever adjective you want to hurl at it. It's a fucking mess, and almost nothing of any consequence is actually correct in it. The dust has settled, some time has elapsed, let's take an objective look at what happened here. We're going to revisit this episode and analyze it. I'm gonna slice into this episode, pull it open, and explain the purpose of all those yucky innards. I think by the time I'm done here, you'll be able to see this interview for what it is. It's an illusion. It's the illusion of an actual argument. It's the illusion of actual information. This will be a multi-part series, maybe 3 videos. At the end of the series, I'm gonna merge these parts into a single video, and if I've made any mistakes along the way, I'll correct them and incorporate them into that full edit. The resulting video should be a compilation of eternal truths, roughly equivalent to the 10 Commandments. Here's what's happening behind the illusion of Joe Rogan Experience 1555. This is Jones, this is Rogan. Jones, Rogan, Jones, Rogan. Yeah, that's Rogan. Joe Rogan is getting murked in this interview, and he often helps Alex Jones do it.
Whoa.
Alex Jones practices INFOWAR, and he sees INFOWAR everywhere. He's been doing it for decades, and he's fucking good at it. This guy has a PhD in bullshit. People underestimate his skills because he's a lunatic and an idiot. Granted, those are true, but you can be both those things and still have skills. This guy has skills. For Alex Jones, this is a fight. He knows this, Rogan doesn't. For Joe Rogan, I think he considers this a conversation that is bounded by good faith and honesty and decency. But these constraints are not honored by Alex Jones. For Alex Jones, this is a war, this is a fight, and anything goes. I'm going to get into Jones' tactics next. Yes, he has tactics, his tricks of the trade, the things that make this stuff work. But first we need to know where this guy is coming from. Who is Alex Jones and what is Alex Jones? Alex Jones is a kind of American performer slash salesman slash grifter that's been around for a couple centuries. Alex Jones is a confidence man. He traffics in confidence tricks.
I've got the answer right here, ladies and gentlemen, to everything that ails you. Now step right up.
Confidence tricks are just what they sound like. You place your confidence in someone, your trust in someone, and they use that to trick you, to exploit you. They use that trust against you. Confidence tricks exploit your naivete, your vanity, your irresponsibility, your laziness, your greed. But the key that unlocks everything is your belief. The first thing they target is your belief, because once they win that, they can exploit you in whatever way they want to. Snake oil salesmen, faith healers, quacks, Ponzi schemers, forgers, sleazy salesmen, fraudsters. These are all confidence men. We say con men now. Illusionists are like domesticated con men. We trust them to lie to us within certain boundaries. The illusion can't be, you paid for the show and I'm not doing the show. Fooled ya. Alex Jones is like an illusionist of information. He does a bunch of sleight of hand tricks that make you think the illusion is real, that make you think his narrative is real. A favorite word in our culture lately is grifter. A grifter spouts bullshit to make money. Alex Jones is a grifter if ever there was a grifter. He is an OG internet grifter. And all of us smarty pantses must concede that it is impressive what this guy has done with this racket. It's important to remember that a con man doesn't just exploit what's bad about you. They exploit what's good about you too. Your honor, your trust, your humanity. They use your social instincts, the stuff that helps us all get along, to fucking jujitsu you and armbar your brain. Alex Jones manipulates trust and he's good at it. He wins people's belief. That's the INFOWAR victory he's gunning for. And then that's a platform from which he can sell you his useless fucking boner pills. I'm not saying Alex Jones knows he's manipulating people, although plenty of the time he definitely does. And I'm not saying he doesn't believe his own bullshit. I think, again, plenty of the time he actually does. You can still be a con man even when you don't know you're doing it and you believe what you're saying, because Alex Jones will never fool anyone as completely as he has fooled himself. What is this con? What is the INFOWAR illusion? Alex Jones actually has tactics. He has strategies that make his grift work. These are the tactics of INFOWAR. Number 1, push the pace. The top thing Alex Jones wants to do is say a lot fast. Just talk a blue streak. Just strafe the fucking room with your bullshit. You fucking cockroaches believe my bullshit. Jones makes an incredible number of claims in this interview. He talks about climate change, he talks about COVID, he talks about vaccines. He just hurls an incredible amount of stuff at you.
Quantum mechanics, potash in the atmosphere, coronal ejection, interdimensional forces, Helmut Schmidt.
Pushing a fast pace works for a bunch of different reasons. We're often persuaded by quantity. If someone just has a lot to say, we often feel like they must be kind of right. So this part is very simple. If people just think they're hearing a lot of points, they could be persuaded by that. But there's more levels at work here, as Alex Jones would say.
Well, let's go further. Let's go further.
Alex Jones wants to overwhelm you. He wants to overwhelm you because he doesn't want you scrutinizing. Think about this. A Potemkin village is a fake, pretty town that looks real enough if you're not paying attention, but it's actually just a bunch of prop houses. Sort of like an Old West movie set. That's what INFOWARS is. It's a facade. Alex Jones doesn't want you going into the house because there is no house. He doesn't want you pondering and contemplating because none of this makes sense. Joe Rogan clearly doesn't get this about Alex Jones, which you can see in this suggestion.
I've told you before, what you really need on your show is like a legit journalist who's right next to you with a laptop going, Alex, hold on, just slow down.
This is charmingly well-intentioned and utterly delusional. Alex Jones doesn't want somebody undermining his bullshit the entire time. He'll never finish a fucking sentence if he has a fact checker on set. When Rogan slows things down and digs into claims, Jones often gets uncomfortable and impatient and grouchy.
Going from memory here. I mean, my God.
I understand.
Lockdowns won't end till Trump gone. That's just, come on.
Right.
I mean, I can't remember the exact words.
Okay.
I forget the exact words. I mean, let's just go read it for yourself.
And also just seems remarkably uncurious. He doesn't really want to know if he's right because being right isn't the point. The point is to create a big pile of bullshit. You don't throw out perfectly good bullshit because it's incorrect. You heap it on the fucking pile of bullshit. That's what it's for. It's for piling. Rogan definitely counters some things, but there's minutes on end where Jones is just spouting unchallenged bullshit. There's long sections about climate change and COVID and vaccines that are pretty much nothing but wrong. This is a massive advantage that bullshit artists have over the rest of us. It's fucking easier. It's easier to create a gigantic mess than to clean it up. It's easier to talk out your ass than to be constrained by facts and reason. It's easier to just vilify them, whoever the fuck they are, than to deal with the complexity and contradictions of actual reality. The rest of us have this self-critical app running all the time, and it takes up a bunch of battery power and processing power, and it eliminates all sorts of ploys you could otherwise use. Jones doesn't run that app. so he can move faster and more freely because he doesn't give a fuck. Number 2, create urgency.
This is an end of civilization event.
This one isn't in the interview much, but it's so central to what Jones does and what INFOWARS does that I had to include it here.
They are going for broke. This is it. God help us. You know they're going to blow stuff up and blame it on us. That's their next big card to play.
Creating urgency is a classic move of extremists.
I'm not here making this up. And if I seem extreme, we're freaking under military globalist attack.
There's always some imminent catastrophe coming, whether it's Armageddon or an invasion or a coup or whatever.
Look around you. You're falling to your death, idiot. Pull the ripcord now.
And they just live on this edge. The great event never comes and it never goes. It just is locked there on the horizon. No matter how long you walk towards it, you never get there. I talk about this more in my video, The Return of Magic. Urgency can make us impulsive. It makes us want to do something right now. Salespeople create urgency in order to get you to sign on the dotted line right now. Alex Jones creates urgency because he wants you to stop thinking about this crap and just fucking believe it. He doesn't want you roaming around the Potemkin village and looking in the windows and trying the doors. Stop pondering because they're coming to kill you. Now, some of you might be thinking, does this apply to something like climate change? Are climate scientists trying to create urgency and make us panic? I think the clear answer here is no, because urgency exists. I'm not saying that urgency doesn't exist out there in the world, and this situation seems plenty urgent to me. Just spotting one of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video doesn't necessarily mean that much when it's just used on its own. It's when you see a series of these tactics being used by somebody that I think you should get skeptical.
I mean, we're occupied by a foreign power. They're ending the country. They have a Chinese agent they're about to install as the president.
Alex Jones creates urgency because he is trying to get something from you, and that something is your belief. And he can later transmute that into cash money through his useless fucking powders and potions. Number 3, look smart.
His personal lawyer, the one that ended up going to jail, actually
Michael
Cohen was getting money from AT&T. Go ahead and pull it up.
Alex Jones is always putting on this performance of intelligence. He's always trying to look smart. It's sort of like watching a poor person imitate a rich person or a rich person imitate a poor person. They don't necessarily know these sorts of people, so they resort to these really broad, stereotypical sort of caricatures. And if you haven't been exposed to a lot of smart people, this act can fool you. The fast pace is part of it, like, look at how much I know. He's always bragging about his memory, but he fucks shit up constantly. Here in this clip, he gets a date wrong and he tries to bullshit his way out of it because he just can't stop doing this act.
The year you were talking about something, you kept saying 1963, and that happened in 73. That for clarification purposes.
Okay, cool.
I think they had a subgroup earlier than that.
Wrong? No, there wasn't? Why not just say, okay, because it's pathological, right? His facts are generally mangled or they don't relate, but most of the time he's just talking out his ass. Much more on this later. Even how Jones describes his memory is bullshit.
Well, my memory used to be photographic, but from everything I've done, it's not as good as it used to be.
Photographic memory is not a thing. It's an urban myth. It's pseudoscience. Sometimes Jones even does straight-up tricks, like deliberately deceptive, performed bits. In the first interview, he does this.
So under U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32, subsection 1528, paragraph B.
Is that true? You nailed that right there?
Yes.
What are you, from Mars?
That was fucking insane.
But let me just tell you.
And Rogan and Eddie Bravo, the other guest from these earlier 2 interviews, they completely fall for it.
That's
Find
insane.
that shit.
That's insane.
This is a con, and he knows it's a con. I've heard him do this bit before, and it was this citation. It wasn't even something different. And Rogan and Bravo are going, holy shit, David Copperfield just made the Statue of Liberty disappear. It's gone. Somebody call the police. And I won't get into it, but he doesn't understand this citation anyway. He's memorized a bit of text to cite something that he doesn't actually understand. That's what's happening here. Jones also sprinkles around lots of lingo and mumbo-jumbo that sounds like the sort of stuff somebody knowledgeable would use. He loves to talk about intel and psyops and chi-coms. Like, listen to this bit about climate change.
Sometimes, actually, more carbon dioxide could cause a cooling effect, but generally could cause a heating effect. It depends on potash in the atmosphere, volcanic ejections at the time, and also solar maximum and minimums.
If you had...
Sunspot activity is the main generator of planetary climate.
That's just rapid-fire climate climate denial talking points. They're trash. They've been trash for years, if not decades, possibly. This entire section about climate, all 20-some minutes of it, is just constantly wrong. Jones also sometimes uses fancy words like gestalt.
I was just trying to give you a gestalt quick analysis.
Don't ever say gestalt. Unless you're German, then maybe you can say it. I don't know. I want to close with 2 points about actual smart people and how to identify them out there in the wild. Point number 1, truly smart people often sound boring. That's their Achilles heel. It's hard enough to be smart without also being entertaining on top of that. Yes, smart people should do a better job at communicating, but maybe the rest of us should all grow up a bit and stop expecting everything to be so fucking dramatic and exciting all the time. And point number 2, anytime somebody is trying to convince you they have a vast and exhaustive range of deep knowledge, that is suspicious. You can know a little about a lot, or you can know a lot about a little. You can't know a lot about a lot. It doesn't fit in a brain. Nobody is that smart, especially Alex Jones. He pretends to know a lot about a lot. History, economics, foreign policy, climate science, virology, epidemiology, technology, media. He's got them all figured out, and guess what? All these brainiacs from these fields, they're wrong and he's right. Now, I'm not saying I'm a brilliant person, but I'm definitely smart, and I have a very limited knowledge of all the topics in this video. I am certain I will make mistakes and people will spot them, and when they do, I'll just incorporate them. I won't wriggle off the goddamn hook. But above all, I am 100% certain I am more right than Alex Jones. You can bank on that. Number 4, express certainty. Alex Jones projects certainty, and he uses a bunch of tricks that convince us someone is right. He has the affect of certainty, the appearance of certainty. And when we pick up on these cues, we'll often go, oh, okay, well, he must be right. When we perceive these cues, we trust. Straight out the gate in this interview, first exchange, Jones does this.
I thought it was Ghislaine.
It might be Ghislaine.
It's Ghislaine.
Ghislaine?
Nods, certain.
It's Ghislaine.
Nobody is saying her name this way. Nobody is saying Ghislaine. It's fucking Ghislaine. She's French. Her mom is French, and it's fucking Ghislaine, and that's that. Now, it also seems to have been anglicized into Ghislaine, so there's lots of English-speaking people who are saying Ghislaine, so I guess you can also say that. But nobody is saying fucking Ghislaine. Why say anything here? So much of what this guy is right here in these first few seconds of the interview. Steps into the fray, confident, like a squished Clint Eastwood. It's Ghislaine. From the jump, just weirdly wrong for no reason. But it's this next trick that Alex Jones loves the mostest.
And they admit all of that. That's Joe, they tell us what they're going to do.
I understand.
They admitted it. They admitted it. Oh, okay. This is something you can just like throw in there that makes something sound done. They admitted it. Look at how much admitting is going on here.
But the point is, they admit it's real. Xi Jinping admits it's leaked out. China admits they're using the virus to keep us shut down. But the point is, they admit a bunch of vaccine deaths have happened now.
They never admitted it. Never. They said something, and it went through the meat grinder of Alex Jones' fevered ego, and then it was transformed into an admission. There's a bunch of variations on they admitted it, like they said it, or I've seen the documents, or it's public, or go look for yourself. They're so evil and powerful and contemptuous that they put their malign plans into pleasantly designed PDFs that anybody can download and peruse. But my personal favorite is this.
They've all written white papers on it that I've read and I can give you. It's not what you see in the news. They're called white papers.
White papers. That sounds very egghead, which is good, and sinister, if you want it to be sinister.
I see.
White papers. Folks, he has not read the white papers. He doesn't even know what the white papers are. Which brings us to number 5, brag about sources. Jones is always declaring that he has the proof.
I swear to God, I can prove all this to you. This is so huge.
He has it. Go look for yourself. He knows that almost nobody will do this, and for those that do, he's prepped them to expect something evil. So they'll squint at the document like a Rorschach blot and go, oh yeah, I guess I do see George Soros sodomizing a nun. Anytime you look into these sources and you follow the breadcrumbs, they go nowhere. If you can tell what he's talking about, which is a big if, and you find the mystery box and you open it up, guess what's in there? Cobwebs. Maybe a lone dopey moth flutters away, clunks into a light bulb. That's me chasing this shit down.
No! Harry, no! Don't
Don't look at the light!
I can't help it.
This happens a bunch of times in the interview. He says Xi Jinping says all this outrageous stuff right out in the open on stage.
And Xi Jinping said, I want to overthrow American democracy. I want to repudiate it. I want to discredit it.
Nope, turns out he never said that. I have no clue what he's talking about.
You can pull it up.
In this next one, Jones claims California Governor Gavin Newsom will not allow the economy to reopen until Trump is no longer president.
The economy isn't going to be open because Trump's done a bad job. We're not going to open until he's gone.
Newsom has openly said that. You sure?
Yeah, type it in. I mean,
Then it's not Newsom, it's Gretchen Whitmer, another Democrat, so who really gives a shit?
It's Whitmer that said that specifically.
Then it turns out Whitmer didn't really say that either, and what it actually is one politician from a party blaming another politician from another party about a serious problem. That's what actually happened.
It's time for a change in this country, and that's why we've got to elect Joe Biden.
Jones says this.
It's leaked out that they're doing this to kill the U.S. economy.
Ooh, leaked it. Who leaked it?
Bill Maher.
A comedian. A comedian leaked it on his HBO show. That's the intel. Jones is always saying he has the documents. He never has the documents. He printed off some web pages. And what are these sources? AP, CBS News, LA Times, New York Times, even the dreaded CNN. Anytime Jones gets something right, he just got it from the news. Maybe just read those instead? He doesn't do this one in the interview because he knows it's bullshit, but on INFOWARS, half the time he's citing INFOWARS. He's citing himself. This one's a really cool trick. Here he is citing the actual broadcast he's in right now. He could rupture the space-time continuum if he keeps this up. He could create a fractal, recursive wormhole vortex of bullshit and suck the whole fucking universe into it. The documents never matter anyway because Alex Jones does not read. He skims things, looking for fearful bits that he can plug into his magazine and annihilate us fucking cockroaches. This next sequence thoroughly demonstrates how little Jones knows about the things he cites. Here he's referring to a PDF that in conspiracy land gets called Operation Lockstep, and he thinks he doesn't have it.
I don't have it in front of me.
But he does have it. He was waving it around earlier and calling it the Great Reset.
The Great Reset. I got a copy of it for right here.
Which is not this, it's something else. Then they pull up the thing he's referring to, what they think is the so-called Operation Lockstep document.
The Rockefeller Foundation Annual Report 2010.
He stares at it and doesn't know that that's not it. Again, the document is here on the table in front of him. Then they pull up the real document and Jones stares at it and doesn't know that that is it. That's the thing, those are the droids he's looking for. He then says it's thousands of pages long.
It's thousands of pages, man.
It's fucking 50 pages long with pictures. But even more importantly, Alex Jones doesn't understand this document anyway, right? He doesn't know what it is. They're doing something called scenario planning. And in scenario planning, which is nothing new, you are imagining different narratives for the future. You're imagining different roads that we could travel down. You're not necessarily trying to make these things happen. You're imagining them so that you can potentially counter them or avoid them. One of these scenarios is something called Lockstep, and it's an authoritarian dystopian scenario that it seems pretty clear to me we should try to avoid. It's not the plan, it's a scenario. Think of this stuff as being like technical, dry science fiction writing.
And that's what they say in these white papers is the corporations are using this for global control and there will be rebellions against it.
This sequence is an epic faceplant. You cannot trust people who do this sort of thing. It's disqualifying. Rogan has good rebuttals in this section, but he does not grasp how completely clueless and delusional Jones is on this topic. There is no there. This is nothing. Jones knows that almost nobody, except for underachievers like me, are going to want to look at the documents. This dangling of documents is almost like a dare. He knows it will be tedious, and most people aren't going to want to do that. Number 6, be right every once in a while, then brag about it endlessly. To really sell this stuff, you gotta be right every once in a while. I mean, not very often, but if you just sprinkle in a dash of facts, it really brings the dish together. Jones is sometimes right in this interview, but this smattering of facts doesn't add up to anything. It doesn't support his arguments. Even when he's right, it's part of the greater mission of being wrong. Lots of Jones' facts are just trivial. Like here he is being surprisingly and amusingly correct about humans being evolved from shrew-like creatures.
Well, we were moles.
We had, shrews.
Shrews, yeah.
Score one for Shrek here. I mean, people are surprising. Don't underestimate people, even this guy. One of Jones' big wins in the interview is this bit about AT&T.
AT&T confirms it paid Trump lawyer Michael Cohen's company.
Yeah.
Then he brags about this endlessly. He keeps referring back to it to establish credibility.
AT&T gave money unofficially lobbying, and you pulled it up. It's just like when you said, what's the AT&T deal? And I went, oh, look it up. And you can pull it up just like I told you about the AT&T deal.
What?
So this does seem to be correct, but it doesn't support his larger argument of globalist bullshit. This is an example of corruption within the Trump administration, and Alex Jones is a hardcore Trump toady, yes man, bootlicker. This, by the way, is one of the great tragedies of the story of Alex Jones, is that he's become such a goddamn sycophant. Then Jones comes out with this fucking doozy.
It was UN. UN vaccine causes polio.
So Jones is making the point that the polio vaccine is causing polio, and the larger, dangerous argument that he's always hammering is that vaccines will kill you. Rogan pulls it up, there's a story, and we're left thinking this is correct.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that's tragic.
But as Jones would say,
Let's go further.
so there was an outbreak of about a dozen polio cases in Sudan, and they were caused by the oral vaccine, which in rare cases can cause polio. This is a known thing that happens. This is real. This outbreak is a problem. It's tragic for these people. It's a bad situation. I'm not making light of it, but there's a much, much, much larger context here. Americans, who do you know who has had polio and is under the age of 40? I'll answer for you, nobody, because it was eradicated in 1979. In 1952, almost 60,000 people were paralyzed by polio. Where did all the polio go? Here's a hint, it starts with a V. Polio is very nearly globally eradicated, and that is because of vaccines. There are millions of people the world over who are now walking because of the polio vaccine. That is an epic triumph. That is heroic stuff. We should build monuments for people who achieve things like this. What happened in Sudan is sad, but it is a blip compared to how immense the spread of polio would be without a vaccine. Jones is using this small tragedy to stoke fears about vaccination, and these fears could lead to people refusing the polio vaccine, and without the polio vaccine, polio comes back. We go back to this. Vaccines and science have been so successful that some people have gotten spoiled. They think it's natural for us to not get these awful diseases. But it's not natural, it was earned. Our predecessors did it for us. And that people want to piss this away because they're into health and wellness gets me angry. There's nothing healthy or well about getting measles. It can kill your kids. Don't let them get it, for Christ's sake. Africa is the final frontier for eradicating polio, and that is science in your face. Any retort to what I just said is hot fucking air. It's nothing compared to this real humanitarian triumph. And scene. Thank you so much. You'll call me? Great. Jones is aiming to stoke vaccination fears with this story when the polio vaccine is in fact a towering monument to the effectiveness of medical science. Then Jones tosses more bullshit in because he's always got to turn up the volume.
Then a bunch of them died, but
Jesus Christ.
It's just Alex Jones.
Nobody died. He's just tossing in fiction because who fucking cares, right? What do you shovel onto bullshit? More bullshit. Then Joe Rogan does this weird thing. He marvels at the horror of this photo. This is a file photo from 7 years ago, okay? And this photo's not even related to this polio outbreak, except that it's a vaccination.
Look at that poor kid's face. Imagine that kid getting polio from that vaccine. He looks so terrified.
Folks, when I was a youngster, I used to scream like I was being boiled in hot oil when my mother would wash my hair because we didn't have a shower head, so she'd just dump a pot of water over my head. I would fucking lose it. I would go insane. Kids do that. They melt down over nothing. Also, does this kid really look that terrorized? I mean, I think 11 seconds later he was A-okay again, and without polio. This bit ends with Joe Rogan all shook up.
That's fucking terrifying.
Over, get this, polio, which nobody in this country has had since disco. Rogan buys Jones' bullshit, which means many listeners will buy it, and now they've got lodged in their heads doubts about the fucking polio vaccine, which has virtually eradicated one of history's most feared diseases. Jones' point here is shit, and Rogan is totally wrong in accepting this nonsense, despite this event being true. The point is to make you doubt vaccines in general, and he's using one of the most effective vaccines in human history to make this point. Even when Jones is right, he manages to be wrong. Number 7, they never denied it. Here's how this one works. You make up whatever stupid bullshit you want to about someone, then you add, they never denied it.
And they've not denied it now. This broke 3 days ago.
This one is just 360 degrees of win. It is fantastic. They never denied it. So they apparently have to keep tabs on your incoherent bullshit. And if they do deny your claim, they're lying, so who cares? And by denying it, they draw attention to your bullshit, which is excellent. And isn't their denial suspicious anyway? Must be over the target, right? Alex Jones has never denied that he devoured a freshly born litter of Chihuahua puppies, ate them like in this clip I am contractually obligated to use in every video I make. They never denied it. Excellent trick. Get out there, use it, abuse it. Do your part to make the world a little bit worse. Number 8, have a wingman. Alex Jones can thank Joe Rogan for this one. He always has a wingman in these interviews. Someone to toss some chum to the intellectual Sharknado. Here he has Tim Dillon. Now, I don't know anything about Tim Dillon, but he seems like a nice person and he seems like a smart person. But he's done something really weird to his brain, and I think the only logical conclusion that can be had here is this guy's as crazy as a shithouse rat. Instead of going to sleep listening to Kate Winslet,
I love bedtime.
he went to sleep listening to INFOWARs.
We're not going to have Pepsi with baby flavoring in it.
Tim Dillon is an Alex Jones fan, so he has assumed the role of trusty wingman.
I think he's talking about the prevailing sentiment of what they feel they must do.
I understand.
When things are looking kind of dodgy for our hero, it's Tim Dillon to the rescue.
That's true, but let's go to Carbon.
In the climate change fuckfest of idiocy, Jones is flailing around from one topic to the next, and nothing is adding up to much, so it's Tim Dillon to the rescue.
What do you think the motivation is for them to present the evidence in this way?
So Dillon asks about motives, and once we're talking about motives, we're imagining what's in the minds of other people. It's totally meaningless conjecture. To be more charitable to Tim, he's being a good performing collaborator here. He's setting up his partner so he can look good. He's queuing up Alex Jones so he can play some of his greatest shits. The wingman role is surprisingly influential. It is traditionally played by Eddie Bravo, and Eddie Bravo is lovable and crazy as crazy can get. He is gone and never coming back. He has left the building. And having someone as crazy as Jones actually makes this whole weird endeavor more defensible. Eddie Bravo made this stuff clearly not serious. I mean, at one point they're talking about deals with interdimensional aliens.
They've made frickin' deals with interdimensional aliens.
Okay.
Tim Dillon seems not nuts, so he makes this stuff seem more credible.
Isn't crazy. I mean,
No, it's not crazy
It's
at
not
all.
crazy at all.
He launders the lunacy and stupidity. When Jones is about to be swallowed up by his own bullshit, Tim Dillon throws him a vine.
He's right.
He chips in with he's right about that, or that's not that far off.
That is not a huge jump from what he said.
He translates things into sane speak.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
I think what Patrick is saying here is that he's got intense drives, and aren't we all a bit crazy?
I think Alex's point is that
But it's Joe Rogan who deserves the brunt of the criticism here. He's the one engaging in this weird mission to rehabilitate the deservedly awful reputation of Alex Jones.
Look, you've been correct about a lot of shit. This is my point from jump.
He keeps telling us Alex Jones is all right and we should ease up on this guy. My view, Alex Jones had it coming. More on that later.
Your mother had it coming.
Number 9, say you're not doing the thing you're definitely doing.
I'm making this up. This is real.
I don't believe you are.
Deceptive people will often straight up tell you what they want you to think. What do they want you to think? They want you to think that they're not doing the thing that they definitely are doing.
But listen, I'm not bragging. I don't know why.
There's no artistry to this, they just say it. Alex Jones is always telling us that he's not doing the thing that he definitely is doing.
But I'm not trying to make stuff up. So I don't feel sorry for myself. I'm not trying to bullshit.
No, you're not trying to bullshit.
He says things like, I don't think everything's a conspiracy, and then he hosts a daily show where he talks about nothing but conspiracies for, a few decades. He says he doesn't know everything, then he says that he's only right about 100% of the time.
My only superpower is that I really try to give you the accurate thing. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but about 95% of the time.
He says he's not kissing Trump's ass, then he just plunges his tongue right up the old Mar-a-Lago and gives him the works.
So we hold up President Trump before the creator of the universe.
And finally, here's an especially telling one from when Joe Rogan appeared on INFOWARs.
I'm not using you in this interview.
I'm not using you, he says. Who says this? If someone in conversation says to you, I'm not using you, they are wiping their ass with your soul. Whenever Alex Jones says, I'm not whatever, he most assuredly is.
Oh, you poor baby. I'm not a victim.
Number 10, just make shit up. Last and most obviously, just make shit up. I mean, you're right, even if your facts aren't right, so just let it rip. Who cares? The gestalt of it is correct.
Whatever, I know it's true. I don't find it.
Jones will often give us specific bullshit, and we find specifics convincing. Like when he says this,
in the 1963 Limits to Growth Club of Rome plan, they said, we believe there'll be a global ice age by 2020. And so we've got to have a global regime to take control of all the factories and all the energy and put a tax in for global government in the name of stopping the ice age.
After hearing that, you might think, well, something like that must be in this book. Nope. Not in there. The book's not even about climate change. It's about population growth. None of that shit's in there. Specifics help sell bullshit. It's like this classic scene from Reservoir Dogs.
It's the details that sell your story. So you got to know all the details about the men's room. You got to know if they got paper towels or a blower to dry your hands with.
Specificity feels like truth, so Alex Jones sprinkles around plenty of specifics. And when they're right, they're irrelevant, but most of the time they're nonsense or they're just figments of his imagination. Alex Jones' M.O. is to grind up media and poop it out into INFOWARS-shaped wieners. Everything that enters Alex Jones' consciousness gets mangled and torn apart and then reconstituted into this narrative about a global cabal that's controlling everything. In reality, the stuff he's talking about emerges from a bunch of different sources, and they're not coordinated. These forces are interconnected and interdependent, but they're not organized. They're not a hierarchy, and they're certainly not a they. Just like the stock market isn't a they, just like the internet isn't a they, just like the economy isn't a they. Jones interprets all this in a paranoid way, and he makes a single entity responsible for it. It's the globalists who are in cahoots with China, and all these people are blackmailing each other, and they're murdering kids and eating them, or whatever it is. I mean, who cares? But he says it's all them, and they are evil, and they are coming to kill you.
I mean, folks, they're going to kill everybody. I mean, they're going to kill you and your family.
This is scapegoating, and when you buy into it, you get to feel righteous and blameless. You don't have to do anything but hate them. So despising a large group of people becomes your North Star. I think we can all imagine how this might go wrong. All right, that is it for part 1. If I made any mistakes, let me know. If I missed anything, let me know. In the next video, I will pull back the curtain to reveal what these tactics are concealing. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Thank you for your support. We've got big sales in our Christmas specials going right now. 50% across double Patriot point.